Please turn to the next slide. Hello, and welcome to the Korean War Memorial. I'm Abby, and I will be your audio guide for this semi-virtual tour. This memorial is located on Ohio Drive Southwest in Washington, D.C. The memorial is very close to the Vietnam War and World War II memorials, as well as the Martin Luther King Memorial, the Washington Monument, the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial, and the Lincoln Memorial, which I encourage you to visit later today. Next slide. First, let's notice some of the different aspects of this memorial. Please stand in front of the statues. If you look down, you will see the words, "Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met." These words are inscribed into black, polished granite. Below this inscription is the year the war began, 1950, and the year the war ended, 1953. This quote is very powerful and sets the tone of remembrance and honor for the rest of our tour. Next slide. Next, please look up. There you will see 14 soldiers, 1 airman, 1 sailor, and 3 Marines. They are in their rain jackets as a nod to the cold and intense conditions in which these brave men and women fought. The soldiers are meant to represent the ethnic diversity of American troops in the war. The statues are separated by polished marble strips, which are meant to show order and some see as a nod to the rice paddies of Korea. The statues are surrounded by juniper bushes. The statues are made of stainless steel and were created by Frank Gaylord. There is a number for the reason of soldiers, 19, but we will get to that later. Next slide. Now, please look to the left. There is an Academy black granite wall covered in the images of war nurses, sailors, Marines, airmen, and soldiers. This wall is meant to represent the forces supporting the foot soldiers seen in the sculpture we just viewed. There are over 2,400 images on this wall, and they were all acquired from the National Archives and arranged and fine-tuned on a computer. These images were arranged in an up and down pattern so that it would flow nicely with the sculptures, and from far away, they also look like the mountains of Korea. There are 41 panels in this exhibit, and the images are grouped based on the service of the subject. This wall has a reflective quality. Since this wall is next to the 19 soldiers, it therefore reflects the sculptures, resulting in a total of 38 images. This is a reference to the 38th parallel, where Korea is now divided and most of the fighting occurred, as well as the 38 months that the war was fought. Next slide. Depending on what time of year it is, there may be wreaths from various Korean and American groups. Students and other youth of Korea especially send the U.S. many wreaths, which we keep in front of our Korean War Memorial in tribute to the friendship we forged during the Korean War by jumping to the aid of our allies. Next slide. Now, if you look behind you, you will see a water element, namely a pond, encircling the Freedom is Not Free wall. It is meant to encourage you to remember that freedom is not free. Make sure you walk around the Pool of Remembrance because that is where you'll find casualty figures from the war, which many visitors miss. The casualty figures have information about the war and about how many Americans died or went missing as a result of the Korean War. As you walk, please take a moment to honor and remember the American lives lost in the Korean War and contemplate on how freedom is not free. Next slide. Finally, we will begin to exit the memorial. You will now be going down a path to the right of the statues. If you glance to the right, you will see the United Nations wall, which is a low wall marked with the names of the 22 members of the United Nations that contributed either troops or medical support during the Korean War. This wall is considered a tribute to friendships and allies we had during the war and that came about as a result of the war, as well as a thank you for all the support that other countries gave us during the war and to Korea as well. Next slide. As you can see, the Korean War Memorial was created in order to instill a sense of remembrance for the Korean War, which is also referred to as the Forgotten War. The creators want you to remember this war and honor those who died in it. This memorial was made so that the Korean War will no longer be forgotten. I hope this tour has been meaningful and informative, and that you will teach yourself and others to not forget the Korean War and to remember those who fought in it. Please continue along the pathways to the World War II Memorial, the Vietnam War Memorial, and many others. Enjoy your day in D.C.